Welcome to Mr. Giant Reacts and Ting and Ting and Ting. I'm Mr. Giant, and today we're doing the fourth in the episode of the story of Michael the Brave. And this one is called Battle of Miraslau, 1600 AD. Dominion struggles. Ooh, that sounds kind of a thrilling, like a thriller or something like that. But let's see two men simmer and see what Michael the Brave got into this time.
It's a warm September morning. The town of Miraslau is abuzz as Mihai's soldiers haggle and barter for provisions at the local market. But the flurry of activity is interrupted when scouts return with news that a more numerous and better equipped army is just a few kilometers east. On a hill just outside the town, the new king of Wallachia, Transylvania and Moldavia stands confidently as his troops get into position. The battle that's about to take place will decide the fate of his kingdom.
Let's see what's up here. Deciding the fate of the kingdom. Now, I never watched these, so I don't know the outcome, even though it's history. Interested in it.
By first securing Wallachia's safety against the Ottomans, and then incorporating Transylvania and Moldavia into his new kingdom, Mihai proved he was a quick-thinking general who mastered all of the basics of 16th century warfare. He understood the advantages of speed and flanking, attacking an enemy formation from two sides, and he knew how to use the terrain to his advantage. The kingdom Mihai founded did not yet have a national agenda, and still wasn't based on ethnical unity. Rather, by unifying Wallachia, Transylvania, and Moldavia, it is likely that he wanted to establish a new Wallachian monarchy with himself as king, and his dynasty, the Wallachian nobility from his power base in Oltenia, and Wallachian Orthodox clerics as the ruling elite. And while it is somewhat unclear what the name of this new kingdom would have been, it is clear that this was a project of Wallachian elites to expand their power over the neighboring principalities. But straight away, Mihai's ambitious plans were met with external and internal threats. Externally, the interests of the three neighboring great powers were damaged by Mihai's unification. The Habsburg monarchy wanted control over Transylvania's resources and rich economy. The Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth wanted Moldavia as their buffer state, while the Ottoman Empire wanted to restore their control over all three principalities. This placed Mihai's kingdom under great threat of foreign intervention, which was amplified by the fact that Wallachia and Moldavia had almost no fortifications or castles, since the Ottomans previously forbade their construction in order to weaken their rulers. In the event of a defeat on the battlefield, there would be no well-fortified cities that could delay an invading army for weeks or even months.
Things never change, man. They have wars and revolutions and conflicts, and it's always the same thing. It's either resources, because one group of people wanted the resources of Transylvania, and then one wanted Moldavia as a buffer state, so and then of course the Ottomans, they just want to rule everybody, money, politics, and resources, or power. I guess power is the main thing, but once you get the power, you have the resources, and then you control the politics. That's crazy, you know what I mean? And the rich has always got the hand in things, you know what I mean? Because the Valesians, the rich Valesians had the hand in there because, of course, they want the power and they want to keep the money. And in order to keep the money, they have to have the resources, and the resources is being harvested for the rich by the poor. It's an age-old system of things, regardless of what the system is. A lot of people always think of communism and then capitalism. To me, and that's just to me, no, communism may start off as the people because they need the people to maintain the society to the point where, they make them think that they're helping them. But, it always ends up where those who are in power get rich, and then they have the worker bees, the servants and stuff like that. And I don't think it's a fault of the system, it's a fault of the people who control the system or who have gained control of that system, because usually when you have revolutions, especially in third world countries, it's the middle class or the poorer class that starts the revolution and fighting against the elite class or whatever. But it always boils down to power, money, and resources. And those who have the resources and the power and the money control the rest of them. Same thing that seems to be happening here. Let's keep watching this.
Instead, an attacking enemy could quickly penetrate deep into Moldavia and Wallachia in a matter of days. To make matters worse, Mihai's relationship with Rudolf became strained. Although he acknowledged Habsburg overlordship, Mihai began calling himself king and continued to negotiate his official position in Transylvania. Namely, he wanted direct rule instead of being governor in Rudolf's name, and equally claimed the Partium region as the rightful part of his new kingdom. This damaged Mihai's diplomatic reputation, and seeing that he virtually lost the support of his only major ally, all three great powers quietly began preparing military interventions against his young realm. Internally, Mihai knew that if he could stabilize the country by integrating the elites of Transylvania and Moldavia, the monarchy would have disposed of considerable economic and military resources and could become a new powerful player in the region, capable of resisting Austrian, Polish, and Ottoman interventions. But domestically, he faced yet more problems. He partially merged the Wallachian and Transylvanian councils, although the two governments remained separate, as Mihai did not want to disrupt the successful model of Transylvania's system of government. Moreover, he invited Szekely and other Transylvanian Hungarians to assist in the administration of Wallachia, intending to incorporate Transylvania's far more advanced feudal system. Measures like forbidding drudgery for Orthodox priests shows that Mihai aimed at winning over the elites. In addition, he forced the Transylvanian Diet to relieve Orthodox priests of feudal obligations, much to the Diet's dismay, and gave the Orthodox Church from Wallachia official authority over the Romanian population living in Transylvania, which took more power away from the Diet, causing further frustration. Adding to the tension, in Alba Iulia he founded a new Orthodox metropolis and built a church there. It is very likely that he wanted to gain support of the Orthodox Church hierarchy, and maybe also their financial help. However, he never tried to improve the situation of the Romanian population in Transylvania, which were mostly peasants, many of whom were serfs, as it was fiscally advantageous to continue the present situation in order to help fill the state's coffers. Moreover, Mihai even supported the Hungarian nobility in crushing any and all uprisings that would threaten the tax income of the kingdom. The struggling peasants sent numerous delegations to his court, asking for the revocation of some of the harsh measures. But taxation was nevertheless increased more than 500% virtually overnight, from a fixed 3 florins per family before his reign to 16 florins plus obligatory food deliveries for the army. Unable to pay, many desperate peasants entered into Mihai's service as mercenaries, or simply fled the lands of their lords, which frustrated Hungarian nobles who lost significant tax revenue. Meanwhile, the Szekely's got back their privileges, but the Saxon townspeople were displeased with being forced to provide their ruler with considerable financial loans. The situation in Moldavia was far worse. where local nobles and peasants grew increasingly unhappy as some of Mihai's unpaid mercenaries plundered the land with impunity. With the conquest of Transylvania and Moldavia complete, Mihai's mercenary army again became an unsustainable financial burden, as there were no new military campaigns to be had that could yield the plunder needed to pay the troops. And although the kingdom possessed enough manpower to field a 60,000-strong army, Mihai could currently mobilize only around 15,000 troops.
Wow.
Due to the unstable economy and taxation system in these early stages of his reign. Therefore, to protect the kingdom, he had to rely heavily on mercenaries, which he could no longer afford. He attempted to solve the problem by awarding several seized Transylvanian castles and important political positions to mercenary commanders with whom he developed close relationships, as compensation for not being able to pay them and their troops. These commanders and their troops were mostly from Serbia, Bulgaria, and Albania, and they essentially became mercenary warlords who freely oppressed sections of the local nobility and peasantry.
Yep.
Widespread corruption and extortion flourished under their local rule, sowing the seeds of resistance across Transylvania and Moldavia.
Now, though Michael's hands were tied there, the appointing of mercenaries of our people, giving them land and stuff and domain over his people, of course they're going to start oppressing them because they're mercenaries. They do this stuff to get rich. You know, and how else are they going to get rich in a country that's in such dire straits than to oppress the people and get the money from them? You know, whatever resources they have, the people have to harvest that. And then if that's not enough, then whatever they pay the people, if they pay them at all, the people has to give back some of that to them in order for them to keep, because they're going to want a lavish lifestyle. And that's the thing I always say about invasions and, you know, interventions and, you know, liberations and stuff like that. People generally don't like outsiders coming in and telling them stuff. Now, when outsiders come in and they take over a place, at first it might be, you know, I'll give it a name, call it the honeymoon stage. Everybody's like, liberation, bam, bam. But then after a while, the people who come in, they're going to start seeing the people that they liberate as the conquered. And they're going to think those people owe them something. So they're going to disrespect those people. They're going to treat them less than. And then you create a problem within your own community who is not going to go, well, okay, I'll give you an example. And, you know, in my country right now, there's a problem with the Chinese. Where the Chinese are coming in, they say they're helping and stuff, but then they're trying to acquire land and take land and take land and take land. And it's happening all over the Caribbean. And it was going on for some while in the whole of the Caribbean. There's a lot of resistance in Jamaica right now. The Jamaicans are getting really tired of it, you know what I mean? And of course there's some resistance coming from the other islands. So, you know what I mean? They're supposed to come in and make things better and help Michael fight off the outsiders, but in turn, their soldiers put in positions like that, they're used to conquering. They're used to, overpowering people. Free reign to overpower people, and they don't have to fight for it. Death is like minimized, so they just went buck wild, I guess. Let's get back to the story.
The Hungarian nobility undertook a revolt to overthrow Mihai with the support from the Habsburg army, commanded by an Italian general, Giorgio Basta. The rebel army marched on the Transylvanian capital, but was soon intercepted. Although the political situation in Transylvania deteriorated significantly over the last several months, the nobles retained most of their power and were content to accept Mihai as their ruler. But what sparked the revolt were widespread false rumors that Mihai planned to nullify the status of Transylvanian noblemen and turn their estates over to the Wallachian nobility. Due to these rumors, any negotiations were out of the question, and now Mihai watched as the enemy column entered the valley north of the Mureș River. General Basta led the imperial troops, supported by the Hungarian nobility of Transylvania, as well as Austrian and Saxon troops, Flemish knights, as well as contingents of Walloons, French musketeers, artillery and mercenaries. With around 20,000 troops under his command, Basta had both a substantial numerical advantage and the element of surprise. The sudden and unexpected revolt didn't allow Mihai enough time to assemble his army. Most of his mercenaries were late for the battle, with only Starina Novak appearing with a small portion of his Serbian cavalry, along with a contingent of Cossacks and Sekalis. With only 12,000 troops, and without his best units, Mihai knew that the quality of his troops was inferior to those under Basta's command, and he tried to offset his numerical inferiority by forming a defensive line between the Mureș River and the hills, fortified with ditches and barricades. The Italian general moved into position where his artillery would have range, and he positioned his best cavalry in the second line, planning to unleash them as soon as cannon fire softened the enemy line. Artillery opened the engagement. For a time, the bombardment was equally effective on both sides. But then, Mihai gave the signal, and a thundering roar echoed from the hills above.
Ooh.
Basta seemed stunned as enemy cannons rained down on his position. Hungarian troops closest to the hillside and his artillery contingent immediately took heavy losses. The cavalry in the front apparently began wavering, and Basta ordered them to pull back, realizing he would not be able to dislodge the defenders. With victory seemingly within grasp, Mihai charged after the enemy. Subsequently, the rest of Basta's army began retreating. The cavalry slowly began overtaking the infantry, wanting to get out of range of cannon fire. In battles during this period, most of the casualties were inflicted during the pursuit of the fleeing army. Needless to say, Mihai's men went on an extensive pursuit, sensing the weakness of Basta's troops.
Yeah.
But after getting well out of range of the Wallachian artillery, Basta abruptly stopped. A flurry of orders and signals were sent out. His cavalry wheeled about, and the infantry took up a defensive formation. What first seemed like a rout turned out to be a feigned retreat.
What?
Mihai was in trouble. With his infantry lagging behind, he was caught in the middle of the open valley. The more numerous, better equipped and more experienced enemy cavalry bore down on his flanks, while the Italian led a frontal infantry charge.
Wow. He got outsmarted.
The cohesion of the Cossacks on the right was quickly broken by the charge of Basta's heavy cavalry, and they began fleeing the field. Mihai stood defiantly in the face of enemy musket fire, but it was not enough to turn the tide, and the collapse of his right flank eventually caused a complete rout.
He got outsmarted.
Sekeli soldiers surrendered after being assured that they will be set free. However, Basta would later have them all killed.
Wow.
The defeat was catastrophic. 4,000 of Mihai's troops perished, and he himself escaped on his horse, swimming across the Mureș River.
I didn't see that coming.
It is not fully clear why such a proven commander fell into the trap of a feigned retreat. Overconfidence is often suggested as the reason why Mihai gambled away his winning position at Miraslau. Another possibility is that Because his kingdom was threatened on all sides, he understood that he needed to inflict as many losses on the enemy and achieve a quick victory in order to deal with threats arising elsewhere. Whatever the case, the fallout of this defeat would soon cause panic within Mihai's regime. But despite being forced to retreat into the mountains, the cunning Wallachian would live to fight another day. If you enjoyed the video and you like going in depth about various history topics, I highly recommend the...
Wow. That was quite surprising there. I didn't think Michael would fall into a trap like that, but the rebels, they planned that thing like, you know, I thought it would go Michael's way, especially when the cannons started raining down on them, on the rebels from the hill. I thought, well, this is over, you know. He outsmarted them. But in turn, wow. See, yeah. That was pretty interesting there. I don't want to say cool, you know. I guess I could say cool because it's history. That's the 16th century. That stuff is gone. But man, I did not expect that. I'm going to leave a link in the description to this video. You all could go check it out and thing. I'll also leave links to the other Michael the Brave videos that I did somewhere on the bottom here. Now click on it, go check it out and take a see where I go on. And I hope you guys are having a good day. You all take care of each other, alright? Cool runnings.